All right, guys, welcome. Let's hop over to Learning Path, week 6, I do believe. Yep. So we're going to be talking about staggering and yo-yo and cycling. Good stuff. So first thing in the assignment you'll need to do is take your last week's animation, where we had the play button and pause and all that, and I want you to create a stagger animation that's going to animate those buttons onto the screen. Okay, so let's do that first. Okay, so I'm going to load this. Okay, what we want is just to have these buttons animate onto the page. Now, using only what we've known, we could do, come over to these buttons. They all have their different IDs, so we could say, all right, play button animates. So we would have, go away, Steam. All right, so we could have, play button 2. We could have a 2 play button animated, and then have the other button animated. But there's a function inside of GreenSock that makes this a lot easier, which is really, really cool. It's called Stagger to, Stagger from, and there's a Stagger from to. So I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to create a whole new timeline. And this is something you'll need to do on the assignment too, is create another timeline. So you can't have multiple timelines going. So I'm going to say var2 equals new timeline max. Okay. So we have a completely new timeline called T2. And I'm going to attach the animation to T2. So what we're going to use here is it's called Stagger 2 is what we're going to use. Okay. Actually, before we do that, I want to do something else. So we can see that we've put all of these in buttons. So I'm going to use a jQuery method here to store basically every button on the page into what's called an array. And then I'm going to use GreenSock to loop through that array and animate them all at the same time. That sounds a lot more complicated than GreenSock makes it. So let's go down and do that first. So I've created the timeline. I've stored it inside this variable called T2. Now I'm going to create another variable called buttons. And I'm going to set it equal to all of the button tags. Okay, that's all that's saying here. This is jQuery's way of saying every button tag that exists on the page, I'm now going to store inside of buttons. And it stores it in what's called an array. We're not going to go too much into what an array is, but an array is just a way to save a lot of values inside of a variable. So now buttons is going to hold all of these buttons here. So now we can use the stagger function inside of GreenSock and we can animate them all at the same time, which is slick. So that's what we're going to do now. So now I've created the new timeline. I have the variable that holds all of the buttons on the page. Okay, and you can do this with classes. So, and we'll do that later. If I want to do that as a CSS class, we can do it with IDs. But IDs really shouldn't work because you should only have one ID per page. But this is just the tag that we're doing here. So all of the button tags we're storing inside of buttons. Okay, so now on timeline 2, I'm going to use a stagger 2. So it's just like to and from, like we've been talking about before. From is where the animation starts, to is where it goes to. It's where it ends. So what I want to do is I want to stagger everything that's inside of buttons. So I'm going to stagger animate all of the buttons on the page. Okay, the animation, I want it to last, I don't know, 1 second. We can play around with that. And then I have to tell it what I want to mess with. So let's see here. Actually, no, I want to do from, because I want it to start off the page. So from where it is right now, I want it to start, I don't know, like 300 pixels to the right. 300 pixels on the X plane. So what this is saying is it's going to animate from, in other words, it's going to start over here by 300 pixels. So it'll be off of it'll be off of the screen, and then it'll animate to where it is right now. So from is probably a better use here, not to. So it's going to animate from 300 pixels to the right on the X plane. So 300 pixels over here. So it's going to be off of the screen. Okay. I think that's really it. Okay. And the last thing I need to define is how much time is going to go between each one of these animating. So when this one animates, we've already said it's going to take 1 second for it to animate, but it also needs to know how long to wait before it'll animate the second one. So if I put, I'll say for now just 0.2 seconds. Okay, and then I'm going to end that out. So let's take a look. Okay, there it goes. Let's refresh. So it comes out, and you see it animates them all. It's pretty amazing, actually. It animates all of these just with like a few lines of code. So if I come over here and I say, okay, 0.5, that means that's the time for the whole animation. So now the whole animation will be done in 0.5 seconds, and it'll wait 0.2 seconds before it animates the next one. So I can do that. Okay, and they come in. And then, like usual, I can have the ease if I want. Let's go, I think, power to ease out. Okay. You can see it speeds up and slows down a little bit as it goes in. But that's all you need to do. And this will get you kind of started with the staggering animations. And then once you have it started and you practice it with it a little bit, you can start making your own stuff. And that's what you're going to need to do for the assignment. But you can see just kind of how powerful that is. You just set up a variable that holds all of those things that you're going to animate, and then you tell it to animate, and you tell how long you want it to last and how much time to wait between each thing. And I could have 100 buttons if I wanted to, and still I wouldn't have to manipulate this at all. Like I can come over here and I could just add a bunch of buttons here. It doesn't matter. It loops through all of them for me. So I could throw in a bunch more buttons here, and it's still just going to animate them. It's pretty cool. Okay. But I obviously don't want to do that. So that's it for Stagger. Okay. So Stagger from, remember, says it's starting from 300 pixels over to the right, and then it's animating on to where it was to begin with. So that's Stagger from. Okay. Let's move on. I'm not going to really go with this anymore. I'm going to hop in and kind of do my own, do a new thing here. Okay, so let's get started. Sorry for the little skip there, but it happens. I just had to get this ready. Alrighty, so we're starting out just like we have before, right? We have our doc type, we have all this stuff. Actually, let me get rid of the split. Okay, we've embedded jQuery because we're going to use that a little bit. And then, of course, we have our script where we're going to write our animations. Okay, and then we've embedded the TweenMax JavaScript file. So we can call it and do what we want to do with it. So what I have here is I have some PNGs that I created in Photoshop, just different shades of blue. I'm going to be animating those. I'm also going to be animating a countdown. So, and this is what I kind of want you to start thinking here. Let me go back. Oops, let me get rid of that. That's what I'll be making here. Let's take a look at the rest of the assignment. So we talked about staggering and animating the buttons onto the screen. Okay, on the rest of the assignment for the next 2 weeks is you're going to have to create 4 separate animations. Okay, and they need to use the following: stagger to, stagger from to, cycle, repeat, yo-yo, and you need to have at least 2 different timelines. I don't care where you use any of these, it's just throughout the 4 animations, these need to be used somewhere. Okay, so on one of the animations, you need to have at least 2 different timelines. On one of the animations, you have to use this, and so forth. So if there's one animation that only uses a stagger to, that's fine, just as long as in the 3 other animations you've used these somewhere. Okay, now you're getting 2 weeks to do these, so they need to be semi-good, right? They can't just be small little things. Like I want these to be pretty complex and pretty good. And if I see that you've just done simple stuff, then yeah, the grade's going to hurt. Okay. All right. Anyway, so in the end, you will have, when you come here and upload everything, you'll have 5 links. You'll have a link to each animation, and then you'll have a link to your buttons that you've animated in. So let me click here. I got to start that thread through for you guys. So post your work here. Okay. All right, so let me show you what I've done, and then this will definitely cover all of these different things that you need to do for this week. Alrighty, so we're gonna hop here. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just do a countdown. All right, so I'm gonna come here into the body. I'm gonna create a div. Let's say countdown. I'll call it like 10-second countdown. So I was just thinking of different uses for this, and this was one that I found that I thought could be kind of cool. So it's going to start at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can jump forward a little bit if you don't want to watch me do this, because I know this is really entertaining. Yeah, and also this should be, I shouldn't even have to say this, but if you turn in your work and your work is exactly what I've done, yeah, there's going to be issues with the grade too. You need to be creative. You need to think of your own uses for this and then do it. All right, so I got my countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and now that I've set that up in the HTML, all I got to do is now animate it over here in the JavaScript. All right, so I have my function. Okay, I'm going to set up my timeline like we've been doing all quarter long. So timeline max. Okay, I'm going to set up a variable called numbers and just do what I did before. And I'm going to store all of the span tags inside of numbers. Now, you got to be careful though, because if you put multiple animations on one page like I'm going to do, if I use span tags for those other animations, it'll conflict with this. So just remember, it's not smart enough to know only you're using these for just this animation. It just goes, okay, cool, every span tag that exists on this page, I'm going to be animating this way. And that's why I put this 10-second countdown inside of a div, because I don't want this to be controlled or animated. I just want the span tags. That's it. Okay, well, actually, no, we're okay. No, we're not. Let's start styling these. So I'm going to style all the div tags, and I don't know, I'll say position, absolute. We'll go top, like 30%. I may need to mess with that a little bit. Left, 50%. Give it a width of 250. And then I'm going to offset it so it'll be kind of in the middle. So negative 125. Font family, I'll just say fantasy, I guess. It's kind of a cool font. Then font dash size, I don't know, 40 pixels. Not really focusing that much on the styling here. Okay, so we got 10-second countdown, and then we have the numbers up here. I won't say 10-second, I'll just say countdown. So pretty much in the middle, it's good enough. All right, now let's see here. What do I want to do next? I do want to style these. So I guess I'll put this in a div as well. I'll say div class equals, say num for numbers. and I'm going to put all of these span tags inside of this div. Basically doing this so I can position, if I can select all these and hit span. Oh yeah, that's nice. Select all and hit tab. That was beautiful. All right, so we'll style that out now. So num position absolute top. We'll go 50%, left 50% as well. Width doesn't need to be too wide because it's only holding the letters. So we'll say like 40 pixels. So therefore we'll be able to offset that by 20 to get it pretty much in the middle. Let's go height 40 pixels, I guess, and then font family. We're gonna go fantasy as well. Font size will go 20. Now you don't have to and probably shouldn't be copying me on this because I mean this should be your own work, right? I mean this should be your own thing that you want to do. Okay, so we got it there, and that should be good enough here. And then I guess top over here, let's make this more like 40%. So I want to, there we go. That's good. Okay. So now what I want to do with these is I want to basically animate these from the top going down. It's going to be invisible. It's going to show up, and then it's going to fade out. And that's how the countdown is going to work. So it's going to be invisible. The 10 will show up, and then it'll fade out as it's kind of going down a little bit here. All right, so that's what I want to start going here. So T1, I'm going to go stagger from. Okay, and I'm going to be messing with numbers, right? Because I set up that variable that's holding all that stuff and all these span tags in it. Okay, I want the animation to last 2 seconds. Okay, and I'm going to start it with the opacity of 0, right? Okay, and then I'm going to say, we'll say Y, make it 100. So we'll take it from where it is right now. Well, maybe that's a little too much. We'll see. Y, we'll take it from where it is right now, and we will start it from 100 pixels above here. So it should start from here and it'll come down because we're doing stagger from. Okay, and then the last thing I need to say is how many seconds before the next one should start. Well, 1, right? It's a countdown. So every second I need a new number to show up. So it's 10, 9, 8, and it's lasting a second. It's okay that the animation lasts 2 because I want to give it some time to be invisible and then show up, right? So let's save this and see what we have. Hold on here. All right, so we still, now the one thing that ScreenSock, the way it works is it needs to know, okay, so I'm moving this 100 pixels, but it needs to know where to start from. And I haven't really told the span tags where to be. So I need to do that right now. Okay, yeah, I actually made kind of a dumb mistake. So let's take a look here. We'll save it. Come over here. Yeah, it's not really working yet. It's because I'm using a variable here. And when I have quotes around this, it's telling it not to be a variable. It's actually telling it to be a value. Okay, when I get rid of those quotes, it now goes, okay, this is a variable that holds something and I'm going to treat it like it. So now if I come over here and refresh, it works. Now I don't want it to count down like this. I want it to count down I want all the numbers to kind of come from the same spot. And I'm not really okay with that, the way that's working. So what I need to do is come over here and basically get rid of this. I don't really need that. I had it there, but to get the effect that I want, I really shouldn't have those in a div. And I'm just going to apply all of this styling to the span tag. And what it'll do is it'll put all of these numbers in the same spot. So now when I refresh, now I'm kind of getting what I want. Okay, we're slowly getting there anyways. So it starts from up here, comes up, and it does my little countdown. Of course, we have issues because the numbers are still here. They're overlapping. I want them to be invisible, show up, but when then it gets here, go invisible again. All right. So I put them all in the same spot now that I'm applying that to all the span tags. Okay, and we have, let's see, the animation takes 2 seconds. Every second, the next one will play, so we're good. Now I can add on to it, because what I want to do is add on to the animation that actually makes it disappear once it's shown up. So now I'm going to do a stagger 2. Okay, numbers. I want this to take 2 seconds as well. But what I want it to stagger to is an opacity of 0. It's going to be 1 second between each animation, and here's the delay of 1 second. Right, so basically this will play. It takes 2 seconds, right? Then after a second, it'll start to fade out because of that delay right there. Hopefully, right? So there it goes. Now if I made a delay of 2 here, it'll take, 2 seconds for it to start to go away now, and I think that's a little bit too long. So again, this waits 2 seconds before it starts to play. If I put a 0 here, then we don't really get anything because it's playing and it makes it go invisible, and so we can't really see anything. We throw a 0.5 in here, and you can see that, in a way that almost works a little bit better, but anyways, it's up to you. And that's what you'll be doing a lot of. You'll be doing a lot of playing around with this to kind of tweak the numbers and get them to where you want them to be. Okay, but that's I'm good. Now I want to throw a little bit. I want it to be a little bit different here. So what I want it to do is start up here. Well, start wherever, I don't really care. And I want a number to come from the top, and then I want a number to come from the bottom, and then from the top and from the bottom. You can do this with a thing called cycle. So what cycle allows you to do is to define one kind of animation that happens, and then to define another one, and then just kind of rotate back and forth, kind of alternate. Do this animation, then do that animation. So we'll do an animation from top to bottom, and then we'll do an animation from bottom to top. And so let me show you how you do that. It's really not too bad. So inside of here, when I'm defining what I want to happen and what I want to animate, I just type in the keyword of cycle. Okay, and this cycle is going to be contained inside of curly brackets. Okay, so let me actually get rid of this for now. Okay, so we have the cycle, and we want to mess with the y-axis again. Okay, and then we have to put in 2 values here. We have to put, okay, what do we want to have happen to the y the first time it runs, and what do we want to have happen to the y the second time that it runs? So I can say negative 100 the first time, and then 100. So it'll start, negative y brings it up. So it should start from the top and go down, and then it should stop from the bottom and go up. So negative 100 up here goes down, and then positive 100, and then it goes down. So it should do that. It should go back and forth. Okay, now we're going to have 2 sets of these curly brackets because one is for the cycle, and then the other curly bracket is for the curly bracket for all the properties. So that's it. You just hit cycle, colon, and then what it's going to do the first time it runs, and then what it's going to do the second. And then it's still going to take 1 second in between. And I'm not going to, I don't need to cycle anything here because every time I just want it to disappear. So yeah, let's take a look. So there we go. Starts from negative 100, then it goes 100, negative 100, and it just kind of cycles. Now, of course, I have this issue now of this kind of being in the way, so I should probably move that up. So we'll say top of like 30. Again, that's not really centered either. So we can say negative 115. But anyways, so that's what the cycle does. So you'll need to use the cycle in some way. I don't know. You figure it out. You kind of figure out what you want to do there. So again, and you can cycle all this stuff. You can anything you can animate: opacity, X, Y, rotation, whatever. Just throw cycle in there, and this is I wonder if you can put in another one. I think it only supports 2. Just kidding. That's kind of cool. So you can define the first one, the second one, and the third one. Will it do 4? It will. Well, that's kind of cool. I didn't know about that. So you can define what happens on the first one, second, third, and fourth. So if I wanted this to seem kind of random, I could come in here and I could set up another cycle. So we could say cycle. I'm just kind of shooting off the cuff here now, so I may break stuff. It'll be fun to see. And we could say X, and then I could define all kinds of weird values for X. So I don't know, negative 100. We'll just kind of match what I have here, I guess, and kind of see what we get. Interesting. So yeah, so you can cycle multiple things and you can add multiple values into cycle, which is cool. I didn't know about that. Alrighty, so that's how you cycle. Let's see what we have here. So stagger to, stagger from to we'll do in a minute here. Cycle, okay, so we're getting there. We're almost there. So play around with it. Make it as beautiful and as amazing as you can. So that's for the countdown. So let's do some other stuff. So I showed you earlier in the video that I have these circles. Okay, I want to play around with these now because you can do some cool stuff with this. So I'm going to come up here and we'll say div class equals, I'll just call it fall, because that's what I'm going to have these things do. Image source equals C1 for circle 1. And I'm just going to copy and paste this a couple times. 2, 3, 4, I think I had 5 of them. Yep. So C1, and I just put them in a div so I can move them around to just kind of keep them out of the area of the countdown. Okay, and so now save it, take a look. So here they are, totally in a bad spot. I don't want them to be there. So we'll come up here. So it was fall, because that's all I'm going to have these do. These circles are going to fall and they're going to bounce, but they're going to do it in a succession to where it looks kind of cool. So we'll say position, absolute, we'll go left 10%, top 10%. I'll just have them kind of be in the upper left-hand corner. Width, we'll go, I don't know, 200 pixels for now. Well, let's see, they're all, I think they're 40 pixels wide. No, they're 30. And there's 5 of them, so that's going to be 150, so at least 200. Well, actually, I'm going to add more, so we'll go 320 and a height of 40 because they're 30 pixels tall. And that should be good for now. Booyah. Okay, so I'm gonna animate these and have them fall. So I'm gonna set up just a whole new timeline because I want to have this be kind of its own thing. So new timeline max. And I'm gonna have to set up that variable. So I will call this just circles. And we're gonna set it equal to actually, you know what? I don't want to do it that way. I'm just going to come over here and give it a class, show you how to do it this way. So I'm going to give it a class of, we'll call it C1, class of C2, oops. Just copy and paste here. Because instead of having like a variable that holds them all, I'm just going to, we'll give them all, actually, we'll all just give them the same class of C. Right? So I'm just showing you another way you can select multiple things, put them in an array, and then animate them with this. So we don't have to do any variables or anything. We're just going to call them by the class because they all have the same class. So we will say TT, T2, whatever. And we're going to use stagger from 2. So this is a way you can define a place for them to start and then a place for them to begin in one statement. Instead of having a from to, having 2 separate, you can have it all defined in one. So I got to say what I'm going to mess with. Now, because I'm not using a variable this time, I do have to use quotes. So I'm going to be messing with the class of C, so period C. So all of those. I want this to last 2 seconds. We're going to go Y, I'm going to say 0 because that's all I'm doing. I just want it to start from where it is. I mean, I don't know. Well, I guess there is one thing I could use is auto alpha, I think is what it's called. It's kind of GreenSock's way of doing alpha. It's a more, I guess it helps with your animations, makes them less laggy. It's kind of what I understood from that. So we'll say auto alpha 0 and Y0. So that's where it's going to start. And we'll put in a comma to separate, and then this is the 2. So this is from, that's where it's going to start. And then you put a comma, and then you put another set of curly brackets, and that's the 2 section. So I want it to animate 150 pixels down from where it is, and I want it to use the ease of bounce. I want it to ease out. Okay, and then I want 0.2 seconds in between each one of their animations. So it's exactly like from and to, except for you're defining the from and to in one statement. This is the from, so invisible, and then the to is, oh wait, wouldn't be able to see them, right? Auto alpha 1. So invisible, they don't move from where they are. They're going to turn visible. They're going to go down 150 pixels, so it's going to look like they're falling, or falling, not following, falling. It's going to bounce when it hits, and it's going to wait 0.2 seconds before it animates all the circles. Let's take a look. Woohoo! Yeah. I mean, simple line of code and you're getting some pretty slick animations. Now, I don't know how fast, I don't think I'm recording with a very quick frame per second. So on my video, it may look like crap, but when you're doing it here, it's going to look a lot better. It's going to look a lot smoother. On my video, it may look a little choppy just because my frames per second, I think, is like at 10, just because I want to keep the file size small. So there we go. Now I could come over here and make it, I found when I shorten the animation, the bouncing just looked a little more mechanical and not as good. So I just found that as I kind of made the animation last a little bit longer, it seemed to be a little more realistic on like how fast they would actually fall. And then if I want, you saw that, up here, I had the width to be able to contain more circles. So I mean, to add more circles, it's real easy. I just kind of copy and paste. Got a whole new set of circles now. Ooh, that's telling me the div isn't wide enough. So yeah, maybe one day I'll learn how to do math. Let's see. So we have 10. Oh yeah, duh. We need them all to be at least over 400, so 420. So there we go. So now I have a longer string of circles falling. So yay, right? Now another thing the next thing I'm gonna show you how to make is kind of maybe like a loading bar with these circles. So, you've seen them when you're waiting for something to load, little animations happening as you wait for it to load. Well, I'll make one with these circles. Now, by the way, even before I said I'm going to make it, if you were thinking, oh, I want to do a loading bar, oh crap, Dave just did it, you can still do it. I just don't want all 4 of your animations, all of you guys to have 2 of your animations be falling circles and animated waiting. But if one of these is something you wanted to do, and you're like, oh crap, he did it, that's okay. You can still do it, but only if you wanted to do it before. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to throw in another div. I'll call it loading. This is going to be kind of like the loading bar. I only need 5 in here this time, and I'm going to say class of L for loading. Okay, and I'm going to style it up here. So loading. Let's see, we'll go top 10%. We'll have it kind of be over on the right hand side. So right 10%, width 250-ish. Do I not know how to do math? I may not know how to do math. 30, gosh. So 5 times 30 is 150-ish. So, 160. And then height 40 again. I just want this div to be just about big enough to hold all those pictures. All right, I must be stupid. So 5 times 30, right? 150. I don't know. One day I'll understand math. Okay, good enough. Throw a border on there because I just want to see something. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Hey guys, yeah, so anyways, yeah, I was just looking at some stuff. I'm like, okay, what the heck? I'm telling this to be top right 10, add percent here. and it wasn't being there, but it was just, I forgot that, well, I came over here and I said all the divs should be this way, right? So that's not, those are conflicting. So I'm going to come over here and just say CD for countdown. Then we'll just change this to CD. Hope you learn a lot from my mistakes. I mean, I learn a lot from my mistakes. There we go. So now it's over kind of where I want it. All right, but fixed I don't want. I want absolute. But you guys may be doing each one of these on its own, on its own, on its own thing, and that would be fine. All right, so now that 150 should work, or at least be closer. No, so 160-ish. It probably has like some default padding in there. Okay, geez. There we go. Alrighty. So it's animated. So it's going to be really similar to what we already did down here. I'll set up a new timeline. I mean, you don't have to have a separate timeline for all of this. The reason why I do that is because if I had this stagger from right under here, then it wouldn't play at the same time. It would play this first, and then it would play this, and then it would play that. But I want them all to play at the same time, so I'm throwing them on different timelines. I could come over here and do what I did here and set an offset, but I don't really want to. So I'm just doing different timelines. That seems to work the best for me. All right, so we're just going to do a stagger 2. So in this one, we're going to use YoYo, is what it's called. And it's basically just a way to have an animation happen and then reverse, and then happen and have the whole animation just go in reverse. It's kind of cool. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to animate everything with the class of L for loading. Okay, I want it to take 0.5 seconds. I want it to be kind of quick. Okay, and I'm going to animate the Y. I'm just going to have it go up 20 pixels. So really what I want these circles to do is kind of go up and down, in kind of a wave motion. That's it. Pretty simple, nothing too crazy. So I'm going to have it go up 20 pixels, and I'm going to have the ease, power 1, ease out, and I'm not going to add the other stuff right now. And then I'm going to have it be let's see here, actually, I'm going to have it take 0.2 seconds between each animation. All right, so they just go up one by one, up, 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 but I want them then to go back down, and then I want it to repeat because it's going to be in a loading screen, and the loading animation is just going to keep going and going. Oh, and let me get rid of that border because that's getting kind of annoying. Just wanted to make sure that I had everything the way it should be. All right, so there we go. So it goes up, and then it goes down. Well, I want it to anyways. So simple enough. So I'm going to come down here. Now I could say another stagger 2, and then I could have it go Y20, and that would have it go back down and stuff, but there's a real easy way of doing it. All I have to do is say YoYo true. Just throw in another, I don't know, attribute or property, whatever you want to call it. And YoYo basically tells it to, whatever it does, go back and reverse it. So it goes up. Oh, wait. Yo-yos don't work unless you tell it however many times you want it to repeat, or at least it wouldn't work for me until I did that. So I have to come over here and I have to say repeat, I'll say 2. So it goes up and down twice. Up and down twice. Up and down twice, right? So the yo-yo depends, like if it doesn't repeat, then there's no reason to have the yo-yo, because the point is it plays and then it reverses and then it plays. So I can come over here and say repeat -1, and that means it loops forever. And now it'll just go. And now I have kind of a loading bar here. It'll just go and go and go. Now I want to try something. I'm not really exactly sure what's going to happen here, to be honest. Okay, that's a little crazy. So the way YoYo works is if you say true, like let's say we had okay, that's hurting my eyes. Let's say we had an animation that had a ball and it goes over here and that's it. If we said YoYo true, it would start from here, it'd go to there, and then it'd come back. So that's YoYo true. YoYo false, what it does is it'd start here, it'd go here, and then it would just jump back here, and then it'd play it again. So that's what YoYo false is doing right now. Is instead it's going, it goes up, but then it jumps back down, and then it goes up, jumps back down, and it goes up. Where when we say YoYo true, it makes it a little more smooth. It goes up, and then it animates back down, and then it does it again. So you get more of this smooth bouncing effect. Okay. And then we have the ease where it goes up and slows down a little bit, and then it goes, and then it eases back down. So we get kind of a realistic movement. Okay, so there you have it. We've talked about stagger to, from to, cycle, repeat, yo-yo, and we've shown you how to do the different timelines. So create the 4 animations plus have those buttons animate in. Oh, and I do remember that you had to have, actually, let me check here. Yeah, so you have 4 different animations with the timeline control. So I don't really care what animation you use. Just grab one of the animations that you used last week. I should probably say that here. So to one of your animations from last week. Okay. So yeah, just grab one of them and stagger the buttons in. Doesn't matter to me which one you do it on. And then create the 4 new animations that you're going to use with stagger and yo-yo and repeat and all of that. And just think of the different ways that you can use this. You know, and you should be doing some pretty cool stuff. So any questions, let me know. Next week, you'll have the 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we're probably going to be starting the final, and then you'll have the rest of the class to finish this up, to finish up the final, and then we'll be done. So I'm not sure if we're going to really introduce any new things, but we'll see. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, let me know. We'll talk to you later.